Thanks for the applause. We're done. Would like to first introduce Hollis Poe, who is going to do our prayer.
Folks, if you'd all stand up. Gentlemen, if you'd remove your hats, please. Father God, we thank you for this awesome place that we live in called the Bitterroot Valley. We thank you for the county, Ravalli. We thank you especially for the state, Montana, the land of mountains. We thank you, Lord, that we're part of a long line of states that came on board with a great, great nation, founded by Christian men and women, a constitution written by your guidance, Lord. We'd ask, Father God, for that guidance here tonight. We'd ask that you guide our leaders, show them with supernatural reverence how to be men and women of this nation. Father God, we ask that you would bless them with your anointing, bless them with wisdom, bless them with foresight, bless them with courage, and bless them with civility. Thank you. We ask that your hand be on this gathering of people tonight, and that you bless us all in the name of Christ Jesus, and all God's children said.
Amen.
Thank you.
And then we're going to go ahead and do our Pledge of Allegiance with Greg Chilcott.
If you please remove your hats. First of all, I'd like to thank the South Valley Veterans Memorial, who loaned us this beautiful flag, and thank Teresa Manzella, House District 85, for reaching out to him for this flag. So, please join me in pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
And our national anthem with Jenica Burrow.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, if that doesn't give you a little bit of shiver right there, I don't know what does. Welcome, Ravalli County. Great to look out here and see all of the great Republicans. Thank you for coming. So I just want to do a quick introduction of some of our local representatives that we have here currently. First, Teresa Manzella, House District 85. David Beatty, House District 86. Nancy Balance, House District 87. Sharon Grief, House District 88. Some of our county commissioners that we have here this evening is Chris Hoffman. Greg Chilcott, who led in the Pledge of Allegiance. And one lucky man, Jeff Burrows, that is very fortunate to be married to Jenica with, wow, it's just amazing. And then Sheriff Steve Holton. And then me, Jason Ellsworth, Senate District 43. Now, just a quick fact, every elected partisan position held in this county is held by a Republican. And it's because of the amazing support that you've shown that allows that to happen, and we need to keep that tradition.
Yes.
Amen. So I'd like to introduce now another Jason. It's Jason Emmerich. He's Young Republicans. He's the national chairman. So we'll introduce him.
Hello, Montana. How are you guys tonight? All right, well, I'm going to get you guys fired up because this is the last stop for us today. So you guys going to get loud for us? That's not even here. I still think they might have been a little bit louder at the last stop in Missoula. And I know you guys get loud at Missoula. Come on, let's get a little bit louder. How y'all doing tonight? I tell you what, do we live in a great country or what? Every time we hear the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer before a meeting, man, if that doesn't make you feel like a warm-blooded American, then I don't know what will. This is how you start a meeting in America. Well, as Jason said, I am chairman of the Young Republican National Federation, and it is a real distinct pleasure to be here in Montana. You know, I've gone all around the country, and there's really no state that's quite as beautiful as Montana. And I count myself pretty blessed. As you can tell, I'm a Southerner. I'm from East Tennessee. So I think we live in a beautiful area there, but this is a special, special place, and y'all are real fortunate. I tell you what, it took me 12 years to come back to Montana, though. I first came to Montana in 2006, December 2006. I played football. Now, I'm not that big. I was a kicker, so don't worry. But I played for Southern Illinois University, and we had at the time, we thought we were coming to Missoula. We were the best team in the country. We were going to show the Grizz what playing football is all about. Well, it didn't turn out that way. And we turned back to Illinois with our tails between our legs as fast as we could. It's the first time a lot of the guys from South Florida and Louisiana and in the South had seen snow. Whenever we landed, I'll never forget the guy that was my seatmate in the plane was like, "We're not going to land on that sheet of ice, are we?" I said, "Hold on, buddy. You bet we are." But it was a great time there. I'm happy to be back because really, this is such an important election. And the race that you guys have here for Senate with Matt Rosedale and John Tester, I don't really think there's a more important race in the country.
No.
So I spent 2 days in this tour, and it's been awesome. I think we're going to win.
We're going to make history.
That's right. We're going to defy history. That's exactly what we're going to do. And I'll tell you something else. I asked 3 questions. This is what, and then I know that we're going to win. So each crowd's a little bit different. We'll see if you have any different answers than the rest of the stops that we've had. Let me ask you, do you guys want to go back in the past? No! All right, well then we can take the quiz. Do you want higher taxes? No! Do you want higher unemployment?
No!
Do you want to confirm liberal justices to the Supreme Court?
No!
Then how are you going to let anybody vote for John Tester?
Right. Boo!
I tell you what I want. I want lower taxes.
Lower taxes.
I want to make the tax cuts. I want to keep them permanent. I want to keep nominating and confirming conservative justices and judges all across the country. And we can't do that without a good man like Matt Rosendale in there.
That's right.
You can't do it. John Tester, he says one thing here, does something totally different in D.C.
That's right.
That's like politicians all over the country.
Ick.
No matter the party sometimes. It's frustrating to us. Like, I'm a proud hillbilly in East Tennessee. And I tell you what, there's nothing like the power I felt in 2016 when President Trump was elected. It felt like for the first time we've taken back control of this country.
Woo!
But we're not done yet, are we?
No!
And I know that President Trump's not in the ballot, but the Democrats are sure campaigning real hard against him. And they're betting that you guys won't all show up like you did in 2016, and that they'll be able to take back the House, and that they'll be able to take back the Senate, and they'll stall the agenda. Are we going to let them do that?
No!
I don't know if that was loud enough. They need to hear you in D.C. Are we going to let them do that?
No!
Good. That's what I want to hear. Because I tell you tonight, you got a special program. We've got some great people here. We've got your great Senator Steve Daines here. He's been a conservative champion for a long time. We've got Greg Gianforte here tonight. I appreciate y'all coming out and electing him in a special election. Let's keep him in D.C. I love it. And like I said, we've got a great candidate for United States Senate, Matt Rosendale, and we need all of you to turn out to support him. And none of the work that could be possible here and around this state in building a strong conservative base can be done without the party and without your support. And I've been proud to join the county chairman, Deborah Lamb, tonight, and it's been great getting to know her these past couple of days. And she wants to come out and say a few words to you, and it's my pleasure to introduce her to you because she's the reason Montana is going to continue to be the most conservative state in the country and provide solutions not just for Montana, but for the rest of the country. I appreciate y'all, and let's get a little bit rowdy tonight.
Awesome to be here tonight. Thank you all for coming out. I just want to personally thank you for all the hard work each and every one of you has contributed to the success that we have had in Montana with our great candidates. We have moved the needle. We have a red wave. We are going to win. Do we love our president? Do we need to send reinforcements?
Yes!
Then please continue to do the hard work. We only have 10 days left. So get out your friends, get out your neighbors, think of everybody that you can call and get them out to vote Republican. We have to get Greg Gianforte back in the House. We need to take out Tester. And how great is it that we have the conservative candidate, Matt Rosendale to do that job.
Yes.
Our president is counting on us, and I don't want to let him down, and I know you don't want to either. So we've brought some other good folks here to just share with you how important this race is. But as Don Jr. says, you know, we do have one good senator, and I would like to welcome him now as Senator Steve Daines.
Here comes my wife, Cindy, right here. Come on up, Cindy. Hey, sweetheart. Well, what a great crowd here. It is such a joy to be here in Ravalli County. And this is the last stop today in a tour that began as represented up in Kalispell. We've been in Ronan, we've been in Missoula, and we saved the best for last year tonight. So I know there's a lot of important people who came here tonight, but I can just tell you who the most important person is. She's standing right here. Her name's Cindy Daines. And she's my sweet wife of 31 years and mother of our 4 children. Sweetheart, thank you. Well, we have a lot to be thankful here in the Bitterroot. I remember, in fact, the night that before we got married at our rehearsal dinner, my sister put together a slideshow of my growing up times in Montana. Spent a lot of time in the mountains, hunting and fishing and backpacking. And she put it to John Denver's Montana Skies. He was born in the Bitterroot Valley. Isn't that a great song? Or Emmylou Harris? We have a lot to be thankful in this part of the state. And I'll tell you what, I'm so thankful that Hillary Clinton is not the president of the United States. And thank God Donald Trump is president of the United States. Jobs, not moms. You got it right there. Thank you, President Trump, for telling us that in Missoula. And you've seen the nonsense going on in Washington, D.C. In fact, it was beyond nonsense what happened to Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Where the left went nuts and went on a search and destroy mission against an honorable man. And aren't we thankful that now Brett Kavanaugh is called Justice Brett Kavanaugh, U.S. Supreme Court? And let's just be clear about how important these votes are in the U.S. Senate. I can tell you, this Montana senator supports Judge Kavanaugh. This Montana senator supports Justice Gorsuch. Our other senator voted against both of those great judges, and that needs to change. And I tell you what, here's another thought. Things are so tight in Washington, D.C. in the U.S. Senate. You realize it's a 51-49 U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
Do you realize that Mike Pence, and what about Mike Pence? What a great vice president he is. Mike is a dear friend. And I know that day when we all heard that President Trump, then candidate Trump, had picked then Governor Pence to be his vice president, we knew we had something very special in Donald J. Trump. He knows how to put together a great team. And he demonstrated that to us by picking Mike Pence as his vice president. I'll tell you something. Do you realize the vice president, many of you remember your government civics class from high school? If there's a tie vote in the U.S. Senate, who breaks that tie? The vice president does, because the vice president is also called the president of the Senate. Mike Pence has had to come to Capitol Hill 9 times in the last 2 years to break a tie. We've literally had 9 50-50 ties.
Wow.
Do you realize that if he comes back to Capitol Hill one more time to break the 10th tie, he will have broken more ties than any other vice president dating back to 1861. So we're living in historic times. And thank God we have Donald J. Trump, and thank God we have a Republican majority in the U.S. Senate. And I'll tell you what, there's another way we could stop this tie-breaking nonsense. How about we change out the senators and bring Matt Rosendale to Washington, D.C.? That would do it. And I am so grateful for Matt Rosendale. He is a dear friend. You know where Matt Rosendale and I were a week ago today? We both had orange vests on. Because I told Matt's campaign, I said, the best thing you can do for a candidate to clear their heads is get a rifle on their shoulder, get them out of Dodge, and get a bump on a hillside in Montana. And that's where Matt and I were. Now, that's the question. Many of you answered to get anything. Well, you know, on a 65-degree day, the elk are a long ways away most of the time. So we're going to hope for a little colder weather and some snow here to bring those elk in. But we had a wonderful day. Saw some elk at a long distance. Didn't get a shot that day, but what a delight. You know, you'll get to learn a lot about a person when you go hunt with them. And Matt and I just had a great day. Just the two of us. Nobody, no staff, nobody else. Leave us alone. Matt and I are heading to the back country of Montana. Being a couple of Montana boys here, having a great day on the National Foresters, and that's what we did. But let me tell you something. I need Matt Rosendale back there as a partner.
Yeah. To
come back there and support your Second Amendment rights. Don't you think it's better to have somebody rated A from the NRA than rated D from the NRA? I think so. He'll make a great partner. Let me talk about another partner I have back in Washington, D.C., and that's a guy named Greg Gianforte. Greg and I have been friends for applaud Greg, please. Anyway, if you want to save a little bit of applause when he comes out here. But I'll tell you what, Greg has been a friend for 20 years. You know that Greg and I, and Susan, his wife, my sweet wife, Cindy, we raised our children together. They have 4 kids, we have 4 kids. We spent a lot of time fishing, hunting, backpacking, spending time in church together, spending time building a business together. I've known Greg for 20 years, and he is such a great man. And I'm so grateful that he's willing to serve as your United States Congressman, and he's doing a great job back in Washington, D.C., isn't he? Let me tell you something. I want to have a congressman that's got an A rating from the NRA versus an F rating from the NRA. Are you making this up here in Montana? Holy cow. We need to make sure that we not only re-elect Greg, but let's send him back with a resounding victory as we re-elect Greg to serve another 2 years in Washington. So what do you say? Well, you want to hear from Greg, and I want to hear from Greg too. So let me tell you, it's my distinct honor to introduce to you our friend and your congressman for the state of Montana, Greg Gianforte. Give him a warm welcome.
Coming home. It's great to be down here. Thank you so much for coming out. It's been such an encouragement to see the crowds all over the state. I just want to start by saying thank you to you, because I get to serve as your lone voice back in the U.S. House, and boy, we need a strong voice back there because those bureaucrats don't understand our way of life. But I wouldn't be in this position, this privileged position, to be your voice if you hadn't supported me in the special last year. Thank you. And you know what I love doing is traveling around this state. I made the commitment to you when I got sworn in that I would spend as much time back in Montana as I could. In the first 60 days, I got to all 56 counties and did events all over this state. And I'm proud to tell you, I have yet to spend a weekend in Washington, D.C. I want to tell you a little story. I was driving around, I think it was in Roundup, and I'm going down the main street in Roundup, and there's a little sign there, and it says, times are a little tough up there. 2 guys went into business together. It says, veterinarian and taxidermist. On the same sign. And I'm I'm thinking, how's that going to work out? And then I look at the sign a little closer, and underneath it says, either way, you're getting your dog back. That was funny. Well, Steve said it. How about President Trump? Isn't this awesome? I am proud to be working with President Trump to bring the American dream back. You know, if you think just back 2 years ago, before this president got elected, it was dark. We were getting, our property rights were being taken, taxed, regulations. And we've always believed in this country that if you work hard and persevere and follow the rules, you can make a better life for yourself. That's the American dream. Well, I'm proud to tell you, working with President Trump in this Congress, the American dream is back. The prior administration said 2% GDP growth was the new normal. President Trump said, how about 4%? And we got it. We now have 7 million jobs open in this country and the lowest unemployment in 49 years. And it's working families that are benefiting. You know, the wages have grown fastest in this country in the last year for the lowest wage individuals. They're up 6% this last year. And I had a story relayed to me about a single mom in Helena. And that's a tough job. She's raising 3 kids by herself. And the light at the end of the tunnel isn't always that bright. But because of the tax code, that single mom, because we doubled the child tax credit to $2,000 per child, and we doubled the standard deduction, her monthly check went up $400. And the light at the end of the tunnel got brighter. And I was proud to vote for that bill. And I was proud the president signed it. You know who didn't vote for it?
Jon Tester.
Not a single Democrat in the House or the Senate. We've also been working to make our community safer. We are building the wall. We need to stop illegal immigration, and we need to stop Mexican meth coming into our communities or tearing our families apart. You know what else we're going to do to make our communities safer? We're rebuilding our military. Because that's the #1 job of the federal government. We gave our men and women in uniform the largest raise they've had in 9 years. Because they deserve it. And we passed a bill that allows veterans to go see their local doctor, as well as the largest funding ever for the VA. Because we have an obligation we can never fully repay, but we got to make sure you have access to health care. So, working with the president, we're delivering results. Who wants to join the resistance? Nobody. But that's the choice we have in this election. Are we going to have a representative from Montana that's going to go back and work with President Trump and continue to deliver results? Or someone who's going to go join the resistance and stand with Nancy Pelosi? It's really that simple. You know, I've had to vote twice on the House floor to not impeach President Trump. Because every time Nancy Pelosi gets a silver bullet, that's the bill she puts on the floor. This contrast couldn't be clearer. And that's why we need your help. You know, the first thing, I'm going to ask you to do 2 things tonight. Well, 3 things. The first thing, can you help Matt Rosendale get elected? We need another senator that's going to vote for Montana and vote for Supreme Court justices that are going to stand on the Constitution and not ones that are going to make law from the bench. And you know there's an election coming up, And you're here because you care, so we probably have your votes. But we need your help with your family and friends, because the way you win an election is you get more votes than the other person. Can each of you commit to call 10 or 20 family and friends and make sure they get to the polls and their vote is entered? Because I love Ravalli County, but we're not going to get every vote up in Missoula. And that's why we need every vote here in Ravalli. Can you do that? Can you reach out to your neighbors? Because what we have in this country, this American dream, is so precious, and yet it's fragile. And if we lose the House, if Nancy Pelosi gets the gavel, or Chuck Schumer takes over in the Senate, this Trump economy and this Trump train is coming to a halt. So thank you for that. It's an honor to serve you. My door is always open. Please reach out when we can help. I'd be honored if you'd vote for me as well, to make sure that we can continue to support this president and not undermine his efforts. God bless you, and God bless this United States of America. So I have the great privilege now of introducing a woman who is the vice chairwoman of the America First Action, which is President Trump's political action committee. She's been traveling all over the country with Donald Trump Jr., advocating and
Kimberly,
getting people riled up, and it's my pleasure. Please help me join Kimberly Guilfoyle.
This room. Yes, jobs not mobs. I saw the sign. I love it. I love it. There you go. Oh, and I like the picture. There you go. Hashtag Dombele. Yeah. So we are back here in Montana, and we brought the A-team with us. I hope you don't mind. Yes, we've got amazing Americans and patriots here because, yep, raise it up. We love our flag. We love our national anthem. I registered as a Republican when I was 18 years of age, but I've never been more proud than I am now to stand for a family, for a president that loves our country. I love someone who's willing to put skin in the game, and President Trump was willing to do that and more. Was he not? Here's someone who could be doing anything else in the world and life, and doing quite well, but he said, listen, I love this country. I love the forgotten men and women in the United States of America, and they will be forgotten no more. And he loves Montana. We love it. Montana is Trump country. Yes. On behalf of the grateful nation, we appreciate you putting in Donald Trump in the Oval Office, United States of America. We got a few good men and women that are fighting alongside him all the way in Washington, D.C. Do we not? We're all in for President Trump because he wants to drain the swamp. That's right. And he's going to build the wall. Get her done. Get her done. He's an incredible man. I've known him for about 15 years. And I said to myself, you know what? This is the guy, this is the moment in time in American political history. God is going to bless us and give us a warrior in the White House. We will take the Oval, and in fact, we did. And now we have to help him. We have to fight side by side to make sure that this president can continue his incredible accomplishments, what he's been able to achieve for this country against all odds, against 92% negative coverage by the mainstream media, the fake news out there, right? Oh my goodness, my goodness. But it doesn't stop him, not even for a second, because he's fearless, he's passionate. You know he loves Montana, right? And his son, Donald Trump Jr., loves Montana as well. This is my 4th trip here. So I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to call it #TrueRomance. So our first trip away, because it's Don Jr.'s special place, was to Montana. And the haters in the press said, Donald Trump Jr. takes KG on the worst date ever to the Montana GOP. Oh my God. And I thought to myself, I sure had a good time. And I came back for more. You know what I mean? Montana is God's country, and it is ground zero for the United States of America. It represents liberty. It represents freedom. It represents a flag, the national anthem. We don't have kneelers in Montana. We just kneel in church on Sunday. Is that right? Amen. We have a president that fights for the Constitution, that fights for conservative constitutional justices like Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh. We Our president doesn't back down for a fight. He stands for the people of the country, for the people that support him. He stands for Montana. He's going to be back here again. You know he feels the love, right? Yeah. Amen. So let's tell a little story here, because before, you know what we had, right? Oh my goodness. Nightmare on Elm Street. All right, so we had somebody who took the White House, President Barack Obama. I know. Nevertheless, so what we had was a man who was a community organizer, someone who passed out pamphlets for a living, had an occasional vicious paper cut. That's all he knew, right? That was his job. But now we have someone who understands the value of a paycheck, that understands what it means to sign the front of a paycheck. All right? He is a maker, not a taker. President Trump, right? He understands. He understands how hard you work for the money every day to provide for your families. Because when you go to bed at night, you want to feel the sense of security, of stability, that you can provide for your family, that you can do better for your children, even from the blessings that you receive. Isn't that what we all feel? It is. He gets it. He gets it. They are terrified of him. They want to do anything they can to unseat a duly elected president of the United States, and we won't let them do it, will we? No. We want it fair and square, and they can't beat him in 2020. So they have an idea. This cast of characters, these miscreants: Star Wars bar scene, Nancy Pelosi, crying Chuck Schumer, oh my goodness, Maxine Waters, Cory Booker, will the real Spartacus come step forward? We're not going to let them take the presidency of the Oval Office, and we're certainly not going to let them ruin Montana, are we? No. No. Because you have someone posing. He's like a reckless stunt double, this Jon Tester, trying to get in again. He is a tax and spend Democrat. He is not a moderate. He is a liberal. He stands with Crying Chuck and Nancy and Maxine and all the rest. He is a reckless teenager on a Friday night with your checkbook. Shut him down. Oh no. Swampy Jon Tester. Let me tell you something. I've been doing an investigation. I'm a former prosecutor, and I'm pretty sure that he's the one that's been clogging the drain to drain the swamp. Let's get rid of him, right? Let's quit Jon Tester and put in Matt Rosendale. Let's reelect Greg Gianforte. We need winners and patriots. We need fearless Americans that understand how hard you work for the money that you earn. right? We don't need tax and spend Democrats. No, 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 no. President Trump, 22-1, that's the number of regulations. For every new regulation, he has cut 22. Amen. He is stimulating this economy. Record low unemployment in the United States of America. For African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, women, and the youth of America. Folks, your kids are going to get a job when they graduate from college, so make some big plans for the spare room. I love it. And that's why I'm here. Yes, I voted and I registered as a Republican when I was 18, and I have never been more enthusiastic or optimistic about the future of this incredible country. Because our president loves our law enforcement and our military, the men and women that serve fearlessly and put blood in, blood out, and put it all on the line for us. And we stand for them. Yes, we wave our flag. We love it because we want to make America great again. And my initials, KAG. We want to keep America great, don't we? And that's why we're all here. We love you. We respect you. I mean, my goodness, we even have Senator Rand Paul here from Montana. Let me tell you something. The President of the United States loves Senator Rand Paul. Me too. He's smart. He is a patriot. He loves liberty and freedom just like you do in Montana. He wants great jobs here in Montana, in America. He doesn't want to export America, right? He came in because we have a special message to you, because we want to hold the line. Please, you stand with us to support and fight with our president. And I know a few good men who are willing to put it all on the line. Matt Rosendale and Greg Gianforte. Yes, amen. We're going to get it done. I'm telling you, we have incredible patriots serving in Washington, D.C. That's why we're going to build the wall. That's why we're going to drain the swamp. That's why America has been restored to its place, its rightful place in American political history, because people respect us. They respect us now, thanks to President Trump. No longer are people punking the United States. We stand proud. We are a generous and benevolent country. And under President Trump, people understand who's the boss. We want to thank you all for being here. And I love this family, the Trump family. I've been campaigning across the country with Donald Trump Jr. How much do we love him? He's savage, baby. I love him. John Tester tries to come up against him. I go, oh. Please, I pity the fool who tries to come up against Don Jr., right? Because he's actually a real hunter, a real shooter, a real fisherman, unlike that poser, John Tester, who we're going to retire. We're going to give him a pink slip. We're going to say, bye, Felicia, right? Please ensure Montana values. So we're going to shut him down, and we've got a few people here to talk to you about it. And honestly, on behalf of a grateful nation, we thank you. We applaud you. We love you, Montana. Yes, right? And I got a great guy. He's a good friend of mine, of Don Jr. Oh my God, he's incredible, and his wife. Honestly, thank you for being here to support all of us. Matt Rosendale, the next United States Senator, representing Montana.
Valley County. You folks are the backbone of the Republican Party here in Montana.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming out. Woo! Are you ready to send John Tester back to Big Sandy? Yeah. All right. Out here tonight with my wife for 33 years, Jean Rosendale, the prettiest barber in Montana. Hey, are you ready to sign John Tester back home?
Yeah!
Are you ready to send a senator to Washington, D.C. who's going to help President Trump keep those tax cuts in place and bring you some more? Yeah! Are you ready to send a senator to Washington, D.C., who's going to help the president build the wall, enforce the laws? That is the kind of work that we need. Are you ready to send a senator to Washington, D.C., who's going to help President Trump confirm conservative constitutional justices to the Supreme Court?
Yeah!
That's why we're here. That's why we're working, folks. Let me tell you, Jon Tester stood up before this state 12 years ago, and he said he was tired of reckless spending. Since that time, he has raised the debt ceiling 11 times. The debt has grown from $8 trillion to $21 trillion. Who's tired of that? Jon Tester stood before us and said he would not be encumbered by special interest, and he now has the dubious honor of being the #1 recipient of contributions from lobbyists in the nation. In the nation. Who thinks that's good? At the same time he was going on his reckless spending spree, I went to the auditor's office and reduced the operating costs by 23%. How's that sound? I refused my own pay increase and was the only elected official here in the state to do so. Who thinks that's a good idea? I serve the way that I campaign. I have served you. I will serve you again. I will protect your property rights. I will protect your gun rights. I will protect the sanctity of life. I went to Helena not to make promises, but to make good policy. I reduced spending. I reduced regulation. And that's what we need back in Washington, D.C. We need more Montana in Washington and less Washington in Montana.
That's right!
Jon Tester has been too wrong for too long.
That's right.
Many of you have supported us for the last year to bring us to this point, and we are almost there. But we have got to continue to push for this last 10 days. I need you to please send in your absentee ballots if you have not. Call your friends and your family and your relatives and make sure they send in their absentee ballots. And then please, on November the 6th, if you're not sending a ballot in, get out to those polls and drive down the street and find the folks that don't have a ride and take them to the polls and make sure, again, friends, family, neighbors, come out and give us the votes because, folks, I'm telling you, it will be close. And we cannot have a couple of missed votes in Ravalli lost because you're going to help us overcome your neighbors to the north.
Yeah.
In that little town with the big M on it, okay? There's a lot of good Republicans up there, but there's not quite enough. We will need you all. So please, I will work for you, but you need to help me, okay? Can I count on you? Okay, let's get it done. Next, we have someone that I know that you all are going to be familiar with, a fighter for freedom. A fighter for liberty, a fighter for the Constitution, the senator from the great state of Kentucky, Senator Rand Paul.
Some barbecue. Guy in front of me got 2 huge plates of barbecue. He couldn't put any more barbecue on his plate. And I said, you know, you're not going to live very long eating like that. And he looked at me and he said, well, my granddad lived to be 105. And I said, well, he didn't live to be 105 eating like that. He said, no, he lived to be 105 by minding his own business. See, I thought that's why you moved to Montana.
That's right.
Because you want to do what you want to do. You want to be left alone. You're part of the Leave Me Alone coalition,
That's
right?
right.
Does anybody in Washington, even the good people, does anybody in Washington know what's best for you?
No!
You decide. That's what liberty's about. That's what our founding fathers said. That's why we had individual states. Why Montana gets 2 senators, so does California. And we're not going to change that. It's also why we have the electoral system. Donald Trump wouldn't be president without the electoral system. So don't have anybody tell you we're going to scrap that.
That's
We're going to
right.
have senators based on population.
No.
That would be the end of our country.
That'd be the end of Montana.
We depend on
sure.
Montana for sending us good senators and for voting for good presidents.
Woo!
But here's the question I have for you. You say you're part of the Leave Me Alone coalition. How in the hell did you send us Jon Tester?
Good question. We know the answer.
Never met a regulation he didn't like or want to increase. I promise you. Never met a spending bill he didn't like or want to make bigger. Never ever did anything that considered the Constitution first.
Yeah.
My dad used to tell me there were 2 arguments in Washington that didn't go very far. A moral argument and a constitutional argument. How sad is that?
It's very sad.
Tester does not represent you. And I'll give you an example. Over time, your government has grown by leaps and bounds. Think about this. Your agencies, your unelected bureaucrats. Do you realize that 45 different federal agencies have SWAT teams?
Yeah.
Well, we could say the police can, the military should. Should OSHA have a SWAT team?
No.
Fish and Wildlife have a SWAT
No!
team? The EPA have a SWAT team? No! I'm not making this up. They've got helmets and boots and armor.
High-powered rifles.
For government. The IRS has a SWAT team. This is crazy. How did government grow so big? How did this get out of hand? Did Congress do all of it? Well, Congress shares some of the blame because we let the executive branch grow so large. But here's what happens. It happened in Obamacare. When they passed Obamacare, it was a 2,000-page bill, and you remember what they said? You can read it after we pass it. Remember, Nancy? Unfortunately, some Republicans have told us the same. And I've said, no, we're not doing that. We're going to read it. We time and knots until the bill is read. But in Obamacare, nobody read the darn thing, and 1,800 times in the bill, they said the Secretary of Health shall at a later date do X, which is whatever they want. So government grows because we give the power to the unelected bureaucrats.
That's right.
So the EPA, we passed, Congress did something called the Clean Water Act back in the 70s. It says you can't discharge pollutants or chemicals into your lakes. I'm for that. Nobody should. If someone dumps something in the river upstream, that should be against the law. However, do you know what happened? Something that was well intended went through the EPA year after year after year, and you know what happens now? Dirt is considered to be a pollutant, and your backyard or your farm is considered to be a river. How insane is this?
Very.
Joseph Potsky was a Hungarian immigrant. He came here to escape communism. He's a first-generation American, loved his country, came here because we were the land of the free. He was a mechanic in Morrisville, Pennsylvania. He was a pretty successful mechanic, and he saw an old junkyard, an illegal junkyard across the street from him. It was a commercial part of town. He said, I'm going to buy it, and like every good American, I'm going to make it better, and I'm going to make it valuable and build something on it. But it flooded periodically because there were hundreds of junkyard cars, rusted out automobiles, and 7,000 tires. He says, I'll buy it for a song and I'll clean it up. So he did. He picked up 7,000 tires. He picked up hundreds of rusted automobiles. And guess what? When you take the tires out of the ditches and out of the streams, it didn't flood anymore. But it still needed to be improved, so he put dirt on it. Oh my goodness. He was labeled the worst polluter in the history of our country for putting dirt on his property. He was fined $200,000, and he was literally put in prison for 3 years. In America.
if you lay down and let your government continue to grow by leaps and bounds, if you let people like Jon Tester, who has never met a regulation he hasn't voted for, if you keep them in office, eventually you will not own your land, you will be renters.
That's right.
You will pay the government a fee to use your own land.
That's right.
Jon Tester has done nothing for Montana.
That's right.
We have repeatedly introduced amendments to repeal the waters of the USA. This is a regulation that was passed by the EPA, not by Congress, that says that your land, if it has a drop of water on it, could be part of the Great Lakes. It's a nexus. If a bird one time landed on the Great Lakes and migrated out and landed on your farm is connected to the Great Lakes. If it came from the Yellowstone River, somehow you are part of the Yellowstone River. If there's no land, no water in your land. One guy in Michigan didn't have a river within 20 miles of his land. He was fined $1 million and faced 63 months in prison. We have tried to repeal this. Jon Tester has voted no to repealing these regulations. He does not represent you. But I promise you, you're getting him again. Unless you go out in force. This is a great crowd. You're not enough. Matt is a couple points behind. He's within striking distance. I wouldn't be here if he wasn't close, but I also wouldn't be here if he wasn't good. I'm campaigning for 2 or 3 Senate candidates that I think are the best because I need to spend time with my family, but I'm here for Matt. Nothing good happens in life without work. You are the committed because you're here. You care about your country. That's why you're here. You got to go home and get 100 people each. You got to contact 50 friends. You got to email your friends. You got to call your friends, text your friends. You got to make sure they turn out to vote on election day. But you got to get him a few more votes. This is really, really close. Guess what? Second place doesn't get much in politics.
That's right.
You win or go home. And this is about something. We are different. Does anybody want something? Does anybody want something from government? Do you want me to give you something?
In the face.
You want something that is an abstraction. You want something that is liberty. You don't want something from me. You want the opportunity to earn for your family, to be left alone in your home and your religion.
Amen.
Nobody came here for me to give you something.
Amen.
The other side wants something. They want something from you. If you've been working hard, they want some of what you've got to give to somebody else. That's not what we're about. But their message is easier. It's easier to vote for a guy that says, I'm going to give you 2 Obama phones, right? They'll give you 1, but then they'll give you 2 Obama phones. And what are we offering? We have to be better at what we're selling. We're selling liberty.
Yeah.
You saw the Kavanaugh thing, right? It was a disgrace. An absolute and utter disgrace. And to some people who say, well, Supreme Court or senators, they're all famous and there's going to be a different standard for them than me. Here's what I say to those people. If someone in your town tells you, well, this is just fine what they did to them, and they work at your local bank and they've worked there for 20 years, you say, how would you feel if it was you? You've worked at the local bank for 20 years. You've done a good job. You've worked with men and women. There's never been a complaint. All your coworkers have given you high marks. And someone from a long time ago in high school says you did something to them. Should your boss fire you? What kind of world would that be if we lived where an accusation could bring a good man down? I felt sorry for his wife and his kids to have to go through that. How terrible, how traumatic. But the other reason why you need him, and this is why President Trump, I'll tell you, I was playing golf with the president about a year ago, and I said, Mr. President, you could possibly get 3 Supreme Court justices. This was after Gorsuch, and you know what his response was? I think I'll get 5. It is just like the president to always be optimistic, and that optimism is infectious, and it's great for our country. But one quick point on Supreme Court justices before I go. Here's how important it is. When the cases go to court and they ask, can the EPA write their own rules? There's something called deference. The court has been deferential. If it's a tie or if it's ambiguous, they just say government wins. When government wins all the court cases, government gets bigger. You need people in the Supreme Court who will say, what did the original law say? There need people who have strict scrutiny. So there's a famous case called the Chevron deference doctrine. Kavanaugh, I think, will vote to either overturn it or limit it. So will Gorsuch. So will Alito. So will Thomas. We're now getting a majority of people who believe in what the original country was founded on.
Yeah.
It is incredibly important. Have you seen any of the crazy people yelling at us and say, do your job, and they're up in our face and people are encouraging this? I thought about it and I thought, well, I'm trying, but it's very important that we understand what we think the job of our representative is. So if your neighbor has 3 cars and you want one of them and you want me to get it and bring it to your house, that's not my job. We have to think about what our job is. And I can't put it better than Barry Goldwater did in The Conscience of the Conservative. He wrote this. He said that if I am accused of neglecting my constituents' interests, I will remind them that they told me their chief interest was liberty, and in that cause, I will not let them down.
Yeah.
We have one final treat for you, a really exciting, dynamic speaker who may remind you of someone else that you see talking from the White House on occasion, and that is the president's charismatic, dynamic son, Donald Trump Jr.
Hello, Hamilton. It's good to be back. I think I spoke to you guys about 2 weeks ago. Yeah. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Well, thank you very much, Rand. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Steve. And of course, thank you, Kimberly. I don't like going after Kimberly because it makes me look bad, okay? So we have to get her off the stage for a little bit because otherwise I look like low-energy Jeb. You like that, did you? Okay, so why are we here today?
To win.
Because you guys are not sick of winning yet, correct?
That's right.
That was the one thing my father was wrong about. He said, you're going to be sick of all the winning, but I don't think so, right?
No.
It's about time, right? After decades of stupid deals, of losing, of letting other countries take advantage of us, isn't it about time we started winning again? And man, are we ever. It's funny, I look at the economy, I look at everything that's going on, and I ask, and sometimes there's room full of haters. You know, they'll sneak in there, there'll be 100 protesters in there, I'll say, you know what? Name one economic metric where we are not better off today than we were 2 years ago. Name one. It literally doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. We were able to get tax reform done. We were able to do these things so that business can thrive, entrepreneurs can grow. You can put more money in your wallets and decide what to spend it on yourselves. Woo! Pretty novel concept, right? I heard Barack Obama last week. He's talking about the economy. The economy is so good right now that he's pretending that he had something to do with it. Right? Hey, Barack, we all know that oppressive taxation, hyper-regulation, the general sentiment of, remember, you didn't build that?
Right.
That's not gonna grow an economy, buddy. It's not gonna do it, okay? It ain't gonna do it. It was so funny. I remember in 2016, my father was saying, and talking about jobs, and talking about the economy, and talking about growth, saying, why can't we have 3% GDP growth? Why can't we have 3.5%? Why can't we do 4? Why can't we do 5? Why can't we? And remember what Barack Obama said about that? Donald, there's no magic wand for that. Well, abracadabra, Obama. There is a magic wand for that. You want to know what that magic wand is? Common sense?
Yep.
Conservative principles and values? Some fortitude? And how about a little bit of experience? I mean, think about it. We can't entirely blame Barack Obama for having the worst recovery in the history of the United States economy. Precisely. I think you all heard that, but he never had a job like that in his life. He'd never run a business. He'd never had to go into work every day and have someone's livelihood, their family's well-being depended on his success. That was an entirely novel concept for him. As Kimberly likes to say, a rough day at the office for him was getting a paper cut handing out pamphlets. We can't blame him for doing a miserable job. It's not his fault. We gotta blame ourselves for putting him there.
That's right.
Huh?
Yeah.
Come on, man, there's some things you don't take a chance on. That may be one of them. Right? And that's the opportunity you have here. Think about it. You have a businessman with no prior political experience, now in the presidency, going through a checklist, one after the other, getting it done. What do you have here in Montana? You have a swamp creature. You got John Tester? No, seriously. The number one recipient of DC lobbyist dollars in all of Congress. That's 535 people between the House and the Senate. Number one. How much of that money do you think is going to influence policy in, say, Montana? Goose egg? I'm with you, ma'am. I'm with her. Hashtag. You like that one, right? Yeah. Okay. How much of that money is probably coming from Montana?
Not much.
Another goose egg. You got a swamp creature. But like the president, you actually have two business guys here.
Yeah.
Matt Rosendale is a successful builder, and Greg Gianforte. In all fairness, who in Montana has created more jobs than Greg Gianforte? Greg made Montana a tech hub.
What?
I would have never even thought about that. I come here for hunting and fishing. Greg made it a tech hub. And he's willing to go work for you.
Yeah.
Think about that. So you have a guy getting it done in DC. You have two other business guys willing to go do the same thing. Maybe we should catch on.
Yeah.
Maybe we're onto something.
Exactly.
Maybe this works. Because we got the lowest unemployment numbers for African Americans in history. Check. Hispanics. Check. Women. Check. Everything. We got more job openings than we have people to fill them because the economy's growing so much. We've put 4.3 million new people to work. Anyone that's got a job in the last 2 years, thank you, Donald Trump. It's working. All right? But it's not just the economy. What about foreign policy? Oh, Donald Trump has no experience. Well, guess what? If the state of affairs that we were given in 2018 and 2016 after that election was because of people with experience, guess what? I want a lot less experience. I want a lot less, because guess what? When he gets killed for having no experience, I don't know, seems to be doing pretty good to me. Look at what's going on around the world. We made a promise to the American people and to our great allies in Israel that we would move the embassy. Check. This is policy that passed the United States Senate 99-0. Someone was sick that day. 99-0. Steve Daines, did anything pass the U.S. Senate 99-0? You're there. I don't think so, right? Nothing passes the United States. This is de facto American law. Bush said he would do it. Clinton said he would do it. Other Bush said he would do it. Obama said he would do it. Who did it? No one. Trump. Until Donald Trump came in. Yeah. Because we have guts again. What they do, this would be the start of World War III. Billions of people are going to die. Remember that in the news? Billions. Man, that's a big deal. If billions of people were going to die, you wouldn't think that it would pass 99-0 in the Senate. He took a chance. You know what happened? 2 people threw rocks for about 4 seconds. Maybe 3.5 seconds. But the rest of the world watched.
Oh, darn.
The rest of the world watched when we said we're going to pull out of the Iran deal. And rather than sending the world's leading state sponsor of terror $150 billion in cash, pallets of cash. You see the pictures. You can't even believe that they would do this.
Can't be nice to those people.
We said maybe we shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't help those kind of people. Maybe we could take that money and put it towards, let's say, our kids' education. How about put it towards taking care of our vets?
Yeah!
How about taking care of our just about anything other than giving it to Iran. I mean, seriously, I would rather burn it than give it to Iran. Right? At least it won't be put in to kill our troops and our allies. All right? How about, remember when we drew a red line in Syria? And Obama drew a red line. Little Syria, right? They stepped across the line, slapped them in the face, and oh, okay, we'll draw another red line.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. We drew a red line, they tried to cross it, we sent 57 Tomahawk missiles, hit 57 targets, and the rest of the world was watching. So what came of that? What came of that? How about a little progress in a little place called North Korea? A place that has been at war for over 60 years. But they saw that. They said, you know what? When Trump says he's going to do something, he's actually going to do it.
Yeah.
We're not accustomed to that anymore. We're not accustomed to that.
I am.
But they watched and they saw it, and I keep watching. It's funny. For the last 2 years, I've been watching all the experts. Donald Trump is doing it wrong in North Korea. And I know because I'm an expert and I've been dealing with it for 40 years. I go, wait a minute. You've been dealing with it for 40 years. You haven't even gotten a meeting with the guy on the other side. Like, my daughter Chloe, she's 4, she's very cute, quite aggressive. She is as accomplished in dealing with North Korea as this expert who's dealing with it for 40 years. Now, unlike some of these people on Twitter who pretend their kid's like really super woke, you know, woke kid, yeah. My 3-year-old talked about the existential threat of nuclear proliferation in the, come on, she's 4. She has no idea what I'm talking about, but she still knows and has accomplished as much as these quote-unquote experts. Because we changed up the game.
That's right.
Rather than going with Einstein's definition of insanity, you know that one? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. We changed up the game. Guess what? And they came to the table. So Donald Trump's getting it done. But he can't do it by himself. He needs guys like Greg. He needs guys like Matt in there fighting with him. Guys that have the guts to do it. Guys that have the guts to stand up. Because as conservatives, we always haven't had that. The other side calls us a bad name. I'm so sorry, we won't do that again.
That's right.
We could be on the 1-yard line every time. Right? We just hand off the ball because they decide to call us a bad name. Look at what happened to Justice Kavanaugh. Right? Rand talked about that. Right? What a disgrace. This is a guy that did nothing but good stuff for his entire country. I've seen pictures of him every week for the last years in soup kitchens, feeding the homeless. Married 25 years, 2 daughters. And they just tried to character assassinate him because he's a conservative, because Trump appointed him. But guess what? Unlike other conservatives who we've... Really, how many others would have stood and held the line? You think Jeb would have done it? Maybe a second before he folded.
Mm-hmm.
But when we fight, when we're right,
that's right.
We can get things done, guys.
That's right.
But again, we can't do it by ourselves. We need guys like this. I mean, when you think about it, in the history of politics, who's ever been or taken more heat for doing all of the things that you elected him to do than Donald Trump? Think about it. I wish we would give guys a hard time for not doing all of the things they said they were going to do. Right? But it's opposite because it's Trump. They don't want to see an outsider succeed. We've discussed this. They don't want that to happen, but we have the opportunity to keep this going. We have the opportunity to push back. We have the opportunity to not have someone who's the #1 recipient of DC lobbyist funds in DC. Another, Chuck Schumer puppet like John Tester. And you know how you know what? It's not just he's a phony with that, he's vacationing in Cancun with Chuck and Nancy. I mean, think about that. These are his friends. He's not a moderate. He's a liberal. Pretty extreme liberal. He's never going to be with us on any votes. You can't say you're sort of moderate and be against tax reform that's given us all these wins. You can't be against Gorsuch. You can't be writing anti-Second Amendment legislation. You can't get on TV and say that you're a hunter but not have had a hunting license in 6 years. I see that. It's pretty funny, right? I'm the son of a billionaire from New York City, and I have had substantially more hunting licenses in Montana than the senator that claims to be a hunter here. So Jon Tester, if you are hunting, you're doing it without a license, which makes you either a liar or a poacher. Perhaps both. Probably both. Okay? I mean, I see it. You're wearing camo, you're probably a hunter. You see him every time, right in the election cycle. He gets the picture, he's got a nice clean rifle, brand new blaze orange, never been wet, never been dirty, right? John, if you want to learn how to hunt, fish, or shoot, call me. I'll teach you, because I've actually done it here. That's how I got involved in Montana politics, actually. I met Steve Daines in elk camp by coincidence. I had my little son there. Donnie, he was about 7 years old. Steve had tagged out. He decided to stay for a couple of days, watch us. And, you know, I bring my kids into the outdoors because the outdoors has been good to me. Yeah. It's kept me out of a lot of other trouble. Hunting, fishing, shooting, the discipline, patience, perseverance. All the things you learn in the great outdoors and the shooting sports. All of those things. I want my kids to have that. That's why this administration has fought for public lands. You won't read about that. You hear Tester saying, oh, they sold off all the public lands. Show me some acreage. What I will say is that I was involved in the transition period in 2016, and I helped put your former congressman, Ryan Zinke, into the Department of the Interior. Amongst other things, Ryan Zinke has opened up over 5 million new acres where you can go hunt so that we can preserve the great tradition of the outdoors. Family in the outdoors, hunting, fishing. You won't see that. The other side and their minions and their lobbyists, they're spending money saying Trump sold off all the public lands, they're making it impossible. Get all these companies, the Patagonias of the world, running the marketing campaigns. Oh, it's a terrible thing. It's exactly right. It's the fake news, but no one calls them out on it. No one calls them out on it. No one actually talks about the truth about what's actually going on there. So when we say they're for public lands, they say, nope, no, they're not. They just say, okay. I called into a TV interview here in Montana last week. I was traveling somewhere else. I was like, oh, I figured it's a nice reporter from Montana. It's gonna be a nice, we'll talk about some stuff. We could go back and forth. Well, but you did this. I wasn't expecting that. I haven't had coffee yet. But it was literally Jon Tester talking points. Because they're in the bag for the other side.
Right.
We're not in a fair fight, guys.
That's right.
We're right. Okay? We got the truth on our side, but we're still fighting with one arm, sometimes two arms and a leg tied behind our back because no one's ever going to get the message out. That's why we need you. Okay? I have guys all over this country. It's actually because of the hunting, fishing, shooting stuff. I spend a lot of time in what I call the dark zone. Everywhere between New York and Malibu that the Democrats only come to when they need a vote. They don't care about it otherwise. I spend time there and I speak to people and they go, Don, I can't wait to vote for your father in 2020. I go, what about in 10 days from now? What's that? Oh boy. Now, no, there's two factors to it. Part of it is they're so happy with everything that's going on, they can't imagine that there would be someone who would vote against this. It makes sense. They're like, come on, who would vote against this? They don't forget, you're not dealing with rational people anymore. I'm from New York City, I know plenty of liberals. I used to be able to sit there, I could argue their side against a conservative pretty effectively. What's their platform now?
Socialism.
Resistance, outrage. Yeah, since I've been here for 10 minutes, there's been 3 separate cycles of outrage that whatever they're outraged about. I can't even keep track anymore. It's insanity. But those same people, they go, oh, Don, you see that here, you see that in the Rust Belt, Don, you know what I'm talking about. If my grandfather knew that I was voting for a Republican, he'd roll over in his grave. I get that, I understand the history. I asked the guy, the first guy that said it, and then I heard it time and time again. These were a lot of blue-collar Democrats that voted for us. I said, hey, I get it. I understand the history. What would your grandfather say about today's Democratic Party? What would they say about this platform that they're espousing today? That's when the light bulb goes off. It's hard to overcome that history. But But you're not dealing with rational people again. So you gotta get out. You gotta vote. You gotta call your friends. You gotta get in there and do it. Because you're not dealing with rational people anymore. They're gonna show up. They're motivated by hate. What they hate, I don't know. I mean, I can't complain about much of what's going on. Okay? Economy's great. We're winning in foreign policy. All of these things are going so good. You got more money in your pockets. More people are getting jobs. Seems pretty good. But the other side, they don't want to just do it a little differently. They want to reverse it. They want to impeach Trump. For what? I don't know. They want to impeach Kavanaugh. They want to raise your taxes. I see these guys making the case that they should be taking care of illegal immigrants before we take care of our own citizens. I see them arguing for Hamas over our allies in Israel. You can't make this stuff up anymore. That's why it's so important for you to be in the fight. That's why it's so important you can't sit out the midterms. You can't have that mentality of who would want to vote against this. You got to get in the fight. You got to stay in the game. And if we do that, we can keep this going. Think of what we can do in terms of draining the swamp with 6 years. Hey guys, the swamp got teeth. Make no mistake about it. They've been entrenched for decades. They've been making billions. The zip codes around DC are the richest in the country. What do they produce? What is it? What is it that they're doing to make that kind of money? Well, they're sending checks to Jon Tester so that he votes with whatever they tell him to. Not whatever's good for you, but they peddle influence and nothing more. We have the opportunity to change that. We have the opportunity to do that with two fighters here. So you need to get out and vote. Your voice needs to be heard. Don't take the chance that the other side is thinking all of this stuff is great, because they don't care. They can't think past that. They can't think past their hate anymore. You gotta be out there. They don't speak your language anymore. That party is lost. It's been lost for a long time. But it's easier for them because they got all the media in their pocket. They got all of Hollywood saying what they want to hear. Right? I mean, I read about all of these. There's a congresswoman in Illinois, and she hosts wine and cheese parties for other Democrats who are running for Congress to teach them how to speak to their constituency. Think about this. You live amongst these people. You want to go to DC to represent them there. You need to go to someone in another state at a wine and cheese party, no less, to learn how to talk to your neighbors? Think of how stupid that is, right? I'm the son of a billionaire from New York City. I'm here in Montana. I'm doing okay. If I can do it, they can't. That's how out of touch they are. And that's why this is so important, okay? It's not about just 2020. 2020, we'll deal with in about 2 weeks. Until then, let's deal with 2018. If you're coming out for us in 2020, Donald Trump is on the ticket in 2 weeks. Because all of the policies, all of the winning, all of the things that he's done for you is on the ticket. And guess what, boys and girls? He didn't have to do this. If there's one person in this country that didn't need this job, it's Donald Trump. But he believes in this country. He believes in what it stands for. He's doing it for me, for my kids, for you, and for your kids. Help us be in the fight.